Hi everybody, and welcome back to the Starseed Dragon channel. We are going over the Wild Unknown Archetypes deck and guidebook by Kim Krans, and we are on the places section. Let's see how many cards are in the places. The first one up is the heart, the home, the center, the throne. It is possible from an imaginal point of view to sense the heart as a place. Either we are there within the realm of expansion and compassion, or we have drifted somewhere else. There is no in-between. It is common for us to leave this archetypal center without realizing it, as the world, with its seductive twists and turns, offers us frequent departure. We may even become a stranger to the landscape of the heart, leaving it vacant for long stretches of time. The seat of the heart is often reclaimed by nature, music, dance, and the presence of children or animals. This card encourages us to move past the layers of life's tangles and knots and enter the wild and sacred center of the self. The most precious throne in the galaxy is awaiting your return. When light, expansive, knowing, gentle clarity. When dark, fraught, tangled, betrayal. Nice. Next card is the cave. The dark, the portal, the interior. Those who are fortunate enough to find and enter the cave are forever changed. It is a place of potent power, acting both as a portal to another realm and a space for sacred ritual and initiation. The cave is a place to return from meaningful retreat where one can see the true self in the darkness. In esoteric teachings, the cave is known to reside in the center of the heart. Within its walls, the whispers of compassion and self-understanding can be heard. Yet because of its mystery and power, many of us fear the cave and never try to find it. We busy ourselves in the bright lights of the city, while the cavernous and dimly lit chamber calls out to us in the night. Where is your cave? You already know. Return it and tend the fire, or return to it and tend the fire. When light, the sacred center within. When dark, withdrawal, isolation, and hiding. Next up, the mountain. The ascent, the peak, the insurmountable. The mountain stands eternally in our awareness, calling us toward its peak. It stirs up stoic and regal feelings, reminding us of the long line of spirits, sages, sadhus, and gods that made their humble thrones within its snowy peaks. Beware, though, as the mountain can affect us in two ways. It can inspire and enliven us to rise to new heights and peak experience, yet it can also create isolation, competitiveness, and an inflated sense of self. Standing upon its heights can activate the purist and the perfectionist in us, creating separation from those we deem to be below. No matter how high you ascend, remember that it is within the core of the mountain that the gems, minerals, and jewels reside. If you think it's all about going up, you're following the fool's path and missing the miner's magic. When light, grounded in the eternal, steadfast, uplifting. When dark, ominous, daunting, isolating, and frigid. Next up, the river. That's a pretty card. That is really pretty. Okay. The stream, the flow, the current. There is a reason so many rituals of change and rebirth take place in the river. It is forgiveness embodied in physical form. Without asking anything in return, the river washes away what is no longer necessary, smoothing over sharp edges and accepting all our mistakes and grievances. Once we step in, we are no longer in control. The river carries us farther down the stream of transformation than we planned to go. Its waters have a special gift for reflecting back to us a new dreamlike vision. Once the tears have passed, we see ourselves as we haven't before, with a little more lightness, grace, and fluidity. Keep in mind the you that stands within the river is the real you, full of deep emotion and potential. Nothing to hide, nothing to judge. May you drink in the sight of your true self. When light, acceptance, grace, reflection, forgiveness. When dark, torment of emotions, flooding overwhelm. Lovely. Next card, the ocean. The unconscious, the depths, the incomprehensible. The power of the ocean is unmatched. To step into its salty waters is to step into the unknown. By its sheer volume, the ocean represents the unconscious, all that is beyond our understanding. We cannot live within the ocean. We cannot claim it, manage it, or own it. It rejects our every attempt to dominate nature. Yet amid its overwhelming power, it calls to us, inspires us, and invigorates our life on land. It dissolves the little us into the big us. When the energy of the ocean is present, there is change stirring that is beyond any change you've known before. The ego must dissolve. The saline swells work on your very cells. The saline swells work on your very cells, your fibers, your deepest underlying beliefs. Like Aphrodite, we rise from the ocean's froth, a new being. Life is changed. Let the wave crash. When light, deeper than deep, big dreams, discovery. When dark, subsumed, drowned, polluted, unpredictable. Next up, the forest. The woods, the thickets, the jungle. Consider for a moment your earliest memory of the forest. It's likely it included all the mythic dynamics of the archetypal space. A little fear, a little enchantment, perhaps losing your way, perhaps discovering a secret mystical treasure. Such is the magic of the forest. It requires first that you enter it, and then that you get lost within it. You may think there is a path to lead you straight through, but soon enough you'll be on what is known as the pathless path. There are tricksters here, dense foliage, and entanglement, but equally present are the glimmers of fairy light and friends among the trees. You're on an adventure now, and there's no turning back, so embrace the dim light and the moving shadows, whether literal or imaginal. Brave the forest and get lost getting found. When light, magic abounds, childlike wonder, adventure. When dark, concealment, density, savagery. Interesting. Next up, the desert. The drought, the wasteland, the badlands. The desert leaves us disoriented, desperate for direction, grasping for meaning, longing for solid ground. For endless miles, we are confronted with a lack of clarity and existential dread. We are thirsty, hungry, pleading with life to get back to normal, to become animated by the simple pleasantries of day-to-day life. The desert offers no such comfort, and all must pass through it. If you can embrace the discomfort of the desert, knowing you will someday reach water again, you can tap into the potent energy of the landscape. Its lights are blindingly bright, and its darks terrifyingly deep, which makes for unbridled creativity and clairvoyant visions. Truths reside in the desert that otherwise remain hidden. The crows, the shadows, the coyotes' call surround you. Let the winds and sands work their deep magic, weary traveler. When light, surreal, strange, unexpected visions silence. When dark, drying, dreading, disorienting, isolating. Nice. Okay. Next up, the bridge. The connection, the link, the gate. Bridges are built to connect two worlds. They create flow, allowing us to travel between realms, ideologies, personalities. This archetype is the gesture of acceptance, of saying yes rather than withdrawing, separating, and saying no. When we cross a bridge to an unknown land, we are led magically into a new reality. We open up to otherness. Healing and communication are made possible. We enter a state of curiosity, wonder, and learning. The shaman, for example, creates the bridge between the everyday world and the sacred. This card asks us to study the connections between the seemingly disconnected parts of our life, relationships, ideologies, histories. Remember that a bridge can't be forced. It must be made with love, or its structure will not withstand the inevitable weather of life. When light, acceptance, magic, communication. When dark, lacking boundaries, forcing connection. Next up, you can do it. The temple. The sanctuary, the shrine, the altar. When we think of the temple, we often envision an architectural structure in a far-off land. We are quick to distance ourselves from the sacred, assuming we must expend much effort in order to arrive there. Yet the temple is a universal and omnipresent energy, accessible in the highest and lowest, richest and poorest of places. Visiting the temple might be as simple as stepping into the dappled light of the forest, slowly and sensually kissing a lover, or closing your eyes to travel inward. This card is a call to re-examine what you pay homage to and what you reject. What do you spend your time worshiping? Your phone, money, material goods? What barriers do you draw between yourself and the sacred? Perhaps there is room on your altar for something new, something surprising. Offer it to the heavens. When light, reverence for all, life as sanctuary. When dark, idolatry, cults, strict spirituality. Next up. Okay, you can do it. The Dead End. That's an ominous card. The Closed Door, the final chapter, the Impasse. Contrary to what its name implies, the dead end is very much alive. It is a force that stops us from moving forward as planned. It is thick, dense, uncompromising. A wall beyond all walls. With every bramble, thorn, and stone, it simply states, "No more, child, you have reached the last page of this chapter." It is natural to resist its very resistance and struggle even harder to make our way, to prove our point, to hold on to what was. In this way, we fight with life itself. From a mythic perspective, the end you face is very much a beginning. There are doors opening all around you, just not the one you planned on walking through. If you are honest and courageous enough to accept, adjust, and adapt, the dead end becomes known as life's beginning. When light, acceptance, humility, relief, reverence for change. When dark, inertia, stuckness, tension, unconscious gripping. Interesting. Next up, the village. The hometown, the family, the tribe. The village presents us with a conundrum. On one hand, it's the place that feels most like home, the place to which you can always return. Nostalgia and comfort draw us back. On the other hand, it's the very place you must leave in order to grow. Around the village, an unspoken boundary exists. One most villagers do not want you to cross. Though some support your leaving, still you hear whispers of doubt as you venture beyond its borders, leaving them behind. The energy of the village is present anytime we feel restricted by a certain group, community, family, place, or ideology. It may have served us in the past, yet staying within its perimeters will never satiate our thirst for life. Thank the village for all it has provided, knowing you will someday return. For now, the world awaits. When light, intimate, rooted, intergenerational, communal. When dark, small-minded, gossipy, trapped, restricted. Next up, you can do it. The empty room, the vortex, the abyss, the nothing. The empty room haunts us all. It is the universal and all too frequent feeling of lack, of wanting, of the craving to fill ourselves with something, anything. We too often attempt to remedy the discomfort of the empty room by any means necessary, leading us to a culture of more. Ironically, the empty room is filled to the brim with potential, yet we perceive it as not enough. This card is a cry for patience, for sitting within the barren walls of not knowing, for awaiting true vision and purpose before attaching to what we should do next to save our outward appearance. Be with the nothingness. Be with the impatience. The empty room has immense power. Let others wonder what you are doing. If you can settle into the magic of emptiness, you will soon hear its whispers of wisdom. When light, spaciousness, potential, possibility. When dark, addiction, instability, more for more's sake. More is more. Next up, the castle. The palace, the penthouse, the fortress. It's no wonder fairy tales tell of sleeping princesses within castle walls. Like most archetypes, the castle is loaded with duality. It represents abundant riches, seductive fantasy, ornate wonders, and lavish adornments. Yet the walls are thick, cold, and shadowy. This card points to a tendency to hold on to possessions, quite possibly a literal home, or position that project the image of achievement, while the soul longs to run barefoot in the forest, leaving it all behind. At times we must settle down, yet the castle lulls us with its spell of materialism, and we fall asleep to our deepest dreams. The castle can be a motivating force, an enchanting goal to travel toward, but it is best not to linger within its walls of decadent deception for too long. When light visiting your throne of power. When dark, stuckness, depression spells walls. Next up. You can do it. The box. The cage, the rules, the norm. We all live to some degree within the confines of the box. This archetype represents everything that is known, anticipated, and expected. It holds us in place while simultaneously holding us back from our greatest visions. The box is sneaky, insidious, and everywhere, limiting us at the most unconscious levels. It is built of layer upon layer of social constructs and pressures. Breaking through its confines requires awareness, continued effort, and bravery. The box may appear as expectations from parents, a well-paying but heartless job, the pressure to look or behave like others, or simply to stay small. There is a box around you now, made of some type of confining thought. What is it? The box shifts and morphs as we grow. This is part of its multi-layered nature. Once you break through one layer, another will present itself to you. Keep going. Break through. An exquisite life requires it. When light, structure, order, coherence, logic. When dark, limitation, rigidity, judgment, fear. Next up, the threshold. The door, the gate, the initiation. We cross thresholds continually, consciously and unconsciously. Doorways, gates, and entryways grace our path on a daily basis. When this card arises, it signifies that the precipice you stand upon is not your typical one, however. You have arrived at a threshold of initiation, here to usher you into a new reality. It requires you to leave behind the you that you thought was so well formed. A new frontier calls. This is not easy work. The threshold initiation means a part of you will be lost in order to make space for what is next. A metaphorical death must occur. Some may not recognize you. You may struggle to recognize yourself. The ground seems to crumble as you free fall into your new reality. This is the liminal realm. One step, dear friend. Just take that one necessary step towards the future that calls you. When light, growth, individuation, ease in the liminal. When dark, resisting, refusal to grow, barriers, boundaries. Interesting. You can do it. Next up, the womb. The nest, the belly, the origin. Everything has an origin story. The womb archetype asks us to contemplate the beginning beyond the beginning, the mother beyond the mother, in a world that often negates the power and necessity of feminine principles. This card returns us to the warmth, tenderness, and sacred intelligence from which we came. It is a card of receiving, not achieving, of accepting love from the mother of us all. She is the life-giving force that forgives and cherishes even the most wounded and desperate soul. No matter how lost you are, the womb awaits your return to help you heal and grow. This card is a call to keep things simple, to return to be reborn in the name of love. The womb is everywhere. It is beyond gender, beyond time. We are within it as it is within us. When light, nourishment, harmony, warmth, love. When dark, stricken, ecological crisis, infertility, imbalance. Interesting. There you go. Next up, the storm, the chaos, the whirlwind, the disorder. Possessing an energy much like the tarot's Tower card, the storm undoes all that is. Oh, so this is like the Tower card, okay. Everything that was solid, known, and relied upon is stripped away by the winds of fate. The ground becomes the sky becomes the center, and then the center disappears. The storm is a great equalizer. No matter how far we've come on the path, no matter our age, wealth, or wisdom, we can't hide from its savage winds. Their disturbing howls stir anxiety and make it impossible to see and think straight. You must wait it out. If you try to fight the storm, you will lose. A better option is to seek temporary shelter and a reliable friend. When all else fails, go within. There, for a moment, you settle into the eye of the storm. When light, meaningful obliteration and annihilation. When dark, meaningless disorder and dysfunction. Good to know. Okay, so this is the one that's like the Tower card, not the other one, I guess. Although the other one is much like the Tower card that I referenced earlier. Okay, next up, the Underworld. The nightmare, the ordeal, the bottom. This is no time to mince words. The archetypal territory of the underworld is fraught with nightmares, suffering, and pain. It is the darkest shadow realm, which we try vigilantly to avoid or deny at any cost. Try as we might, the darkness pulls us into its depths through disturbing dream images, unexpected accidents, illness, war, conflict, and ultimately death. Not visiting the underworld or denying its existence altogether is what gives it dangerous power. Traversing it forces us to bow humbly to the greater forces that be, while summoning the inner strength we previously underestimated. Take solace that the underworld subsumes everyone from time to time, making us deeper friends, more intimate partners, soldiers of light amid our shadowy times. Facing darkness and choosing light is the most profound calling of all. When light, bravery, depth, facing of deepest fears. When dark, denial, suppression, evil, unconsciousness. Next up, the faultine, the fissure, the crack, the weak link, Imagine walking across a frozen lake that begins to crack before your eyes. No matter how optimistic and brave you might be, panic ensues. You become fearful and tense and long for stable ground. Such is the energy of the fall teen. It's the energy of walking on eggshells, of precarious dynamics, of sensing what is ready to break open into chaos. It's likely this cracking open is overdue, as fall teens develop slowly and naturally from underlying elemental pressures. This card comes as a potent warning not to deny the shakiness that's afoot. It's much better to prepare yourself for change than to walk along the fault line pretending all is well. There is no easy fix for the situation at hand. It will require a fundamental shift that alters the current dynamics from the ground up. When light, redefining reality. Breaking open. When dark, precariousness, pretending delusion. And this is going to be our last card coming up here in this section, the Bardo. The Bardo. That's a pretty card. The liminal, the in-between, the transition. It is said that the Bardo is a place between this life and the next, a liminal realm through which souls pass. Envisioning this inherently mysterious space creates the potential for us to rise above the concerns of this world and see our relationships through a cosmic and timeless lens. We may receive messages from those who are no longer with us or see visions of lives not yet lived. In the Bardo, there is potential to forgive the unforgivable, to say the unsaid, to see the unseen, to love the unloved, to let go of all the things that cause us pain. The Bardo suspends us in its spaciousness for just long enough to open us to higher wisdom. Its energy does not belong to Earth as we know it, but rather to the cosmic network of which we are a single thread. When light, spaciousness, grace, forgiveness, truth. When dark, torment, dislocation, hallucination, transient. And that's going to do it for this section of the places. The next video we're going to do is going to be on the tools. So we'll get to that section in our next video. Thanks for watching. If you are enjoying this review and would like to get a deck for yourself, there is an affiliate link in the description box below. Other than that, I will see you on the next video. Bye.